The gauntlet has been thrown down by a Sixers side rejecting bids for Ben Simmons in a declaration to claim a better offer. But now the Golden State Warriors have conjured up the collateral ready to take this trade over the top. Before we get into the video, if you want to win a PS5 with NBA 2K21 and Madden NFL 21 included, leave a like, comment, subscribe, and turn on notifications to enter the giveaway. The Warriors are a trade away from reigniting the dynasty that ruled the majority of the last decade. 5 finals in a row is nothing to be sneered at when 3 of them were without KD. The Bay Area enjoyed its most lucrative period with the Splash Brothers, playing exciting basketball that was so good it literally changed the NBA forever with the focus of the three-point shot. Klay Thompson and Steph Curry launched at will, lighting up scoreboards, breaking records, and picking up 3 championships along the way. But with the decline of Draymond Green, the loss of KD, and the injury woes of Klay Thompson, the Warriors haven't been the same. Not to mention the silly decision to let Andre Iguodala go. Although this allowed cap space for the acquisition of D'Angelo Russell during the KD debacle, it showed poor judgment as Iggy went on to help Miami to the NBA Finals that very year. Russell left Golden State just 7 months later in what was the end of a very short and difficult chapter for everyone involved. But with Steph still putting up huge numbers and Klay looking to return, there's still hope that a rebuild is in the cards. The Warriors astutely took advantage of the trades prior, and now hold the number 7 and 14 picks in the upcoming NBA draft. This gives them huge appeal that will attract some of the top players looking to break off into a potential championship-winning side. They have the coach, they have the front office, and more importantly, they still have the stars. So where does Ben Simmons fit into all this? An Andrew Wiggins swap with picks is looking the most obvious trade option with an alluring 7th and 14th first-round picks. With one first pick overall for another, this trade could pique the Sixers' interest as Wiggins has steadily impressed in his first 6 years. The 2015 Rookie of the Year has recently turned heads with an impressive season with the Warriors as he became one of their best performers in 2021. In the second half of the season, Wiggins averaged 20.5 points on 49% shooting from the field and 41% from 3. So has he done enough to make this a worthwhile trade? Well, he's done more than Simmons, that's for sure. Ben's Philly slump in the playoffs was widely criticized by many, including teammates. Which leads us to our next point. Ben Simmons is out the door one way or another. The Sixers don't want him, and he doesn't want the Sixers. It hasn't worked out, and that's okay. The terms and destination are where the water gets muddy, and with Clutch Sports and LeBron luring him to the Lakers, it might pose a problem for what looks like a relatively simple acquisition. However, obstacles are to be overcome if it's a simple matter of sizing up organizations. The Warriors still have the championship potential to pull the trigger on any deal and make it work. Let's look at their lineup if Simmons was to roll into town. Add Ben to a team with an elite defender in James Wiseman and 2017 NBA Defensive Player of the Year Draymond Green, and you've got a wall of defense. Now let's look at scoring, something Ben Simmons has been struggling to do as of late. For years, commentators have spoken about how Ben Simmons needs the kind of team that surrounds him with shooters. It's simple. Just let Steph and Klay go at the 3 and Ben hit the rim. Giannis has worse shooters in Milwaukee and it's working for him. The argument that Ben can't shoot won't matter because if he goes to the Warriors, Ben doesn't necessarily need to shoot. Simmons needs a coach that can not only fill him with confidence, but a coach that equally needs Ben's game. Steve Kerr understands the defense he'll be getting and the very different kind of offense that will help him open teams up. Ben's style will make them work not only to try and close down the Warriors' outside shot, but his additional points in the paint. Simmons' style of play is incredibly useful and will cause havoc for opposition trying to figure out how to break Golden State down. So can Green and Simmons play together? Absolutely. 2 relatively poor shooters on the floor won't affect the Warriors. They'll just need to interchange with Kevon Looney and spread the minutes. Simmons is big, which allows him to also play as center. One way or another, he's going to have to adapt his game to fit into a star lineup, and shooting is probably not going to be his new mantra. However, let's say this is the year Ben Simmons does finally decide to fix his shot. Who better to work with than a coach who was a 3-point sniper for NBA Dynasty, the '90 Chicago Bulls? While his title-winning 3-pointer against the Jazz in 1997 will remain etched firmly in our memories, the important figure to look at is Steve Kerr's career 3-point field goal percentage. Kerr has the highest career 3-point field goal percentage in NBA history at 45.4%. Now that's consistency. And if Kerr doesn't have time, why not offer up the greatest shooter of all time in Steph Curry or probably the second best in the league, Klay Thompson? Most top 10 lists hold Steph at number 1 and Klay at number 2, and for good reasons. So if Simmons needs some help, he'll get plenty of it in the Bay Area. Do the Warriors need Ben? When Klay's healthy, they have 3 starting Hall of Famers, and the suggestion that Wiseman and Looney aren't going to improve would be ridiculous. Now that they have two very good picks, they could stick with the draft and build for the future. But if they go down that road, how much longer will the Warriors have to wait for that coveted next title run? It all depends on the picks and the speed of development or use of assets at the next deadline. It will take time, which is something this team surprisingly might not have. Steph is 33 years old, and while Draymond and Klay are 2 years younger, both have been struggling with major and minor injuries, which have hampered the Golden State Warriors' progress over the last 2 years, and ultimately them missing out on back-to-back playoffs, something that would be unheard of just 2 years ago. The time is now. The Warriors need to activate the trade, give up a couple of players, throw in the draft picks, and take on another star. Wiggins won't be enough alone, so we're likely looking at an additional player which could very well end up being Eric Paschall, a power forward who was named in the 2019-2020 NBA All-Rookie First Team. A player who raised eyebrows with some consistent scoring last season and an incredible career-high 34 points with 13 rebounds against Portland Trailblazers. However, injury affected him late this year, so his stock may have dropped due to a lack of minutes. If that doesn't sweeten the deal, we circle back to James Wiseman, being added with George Hill going the opposite way. Hill seems to be in every trade conversation every year, but maybe that's because Hill is actually involved in a trade every year, so we put his name in there for good measure. Now let's look at the Blockbuster trade once again involving the Toronto Raptors. This way, the Warriors get Ben Simmons, Aaron Baines, and Seth Curry. The Toronto Raptors get Andrew Wiggins, James Wiseman, Damian Lee, and a 14th pick. And the 76ers end up with Pascal Siakam, Malachi Flynn, and a coveted 7th pick in what looks set to be a stacked draft for the top 10 players. So Seth ends up with Steph, and big man Baines joins Ben for a championship run and one hell of a story. Splash Brothers and Real Brothers who can all shoot with the defense to back it up. Looks pretty good. The 76ers got a championship-winning number 2 guy in Pascal Siakam who flew under the wing of Kawhi Leonard for Toronto's only title. Malachi Flynn is also a hot prospect following a very good rookie year in Canada, and there's no questioning a number 7 pick in this year's draft will help a much-needed rebuild in Philly. One problem in this trade is Toronto. Masai Ujiri adores Pascal Siakam. Does Andrew Wiggins provide enough productivity to make up for this loss? Not to mention the addition of Damian Lee being shortchanged for a potential starting point guard in Flynn. It would need a push of Wiseman's defense, which Toronto badly needs, and the additional 14th pick on top of their already lucky 4th that could take this over the top. This option looks big, but it won't go down like that. Toronto isn't conservative, but they also ain't stupid. They'd lose out, and by the looks of things, so would the 76ers. The Warriors don't want to move on Wiseman, so the likelihood of him going is slim to none. This trade is simple. Wrap up Wiggins and offer both draft picks. That should get the deal done despite Philly turning down a Malcolm Brogdon switch recently. While Brogdon was Rookie of the Year in 2017, he's 29 later this year and hasn't been pulling up threes as of late. Wiggins is an infinitely better trade because of the extra 3 years left in the bank. The Simmons trade is likely to come after the inevitable move of Damian Lillard. Once he goes, the rest will follow. What happens next is that the most likely scenarios will come into play. Lillard has been closely linked with the trade to the Lakers, which means the Warriors will have to get down to business if they're going to compete in the West. Just because they're one of the most injured teams of this season doesn't mean the fans don't still have expectations. Filling the void of Klay Thompson is difficult, but the Warriors still shouldn't be where they are. They arguably should be taking 5th to 7th seed at the very least, with the weapons and coaching at their disposal. A couple of good draft picks and the return of players like Pascal, let alone Klay Thompson, should have them winning games in their sleep. So the question remains, do they believe that these players are healthy enough to make a full season? Klay's injury in Game 6 of the 2019 Finals was followed by another major injury the following year, wiping him out for 2 seasons in a row. Eric Paschall missed 19 straight games last season with a hip flexor injury, so now you're relying on the depth of the bench to ensure these guys don't have to push their bodies to the limit, causing other potential problems. Enter the draft picks. Will they be good enough to just enter the squad, or do they need time to develop like most rookies? A complex question with a difficult answer points to the most obvious solution. Trade up and get yourself another star in Simmons. A man who averages roughly 7.7 assists and 8.1 rebounds per game in his entire career is nothing to scoff at. To the Warriors, I say, bring him in. Have him give you what you need. And if you want him to fix his shot, organize a pickup game with Klay, Kerr, and Steph, and let him watch and learn. Comment below to let us know your thoughts, and be sure to subscribe for more. And don't forget to turn on notifications so you never miss another one of our videos. We'll see you next time, latest Hoops fans. Until then, keep shooting your shot!